My name is Joe Birch. Thank you so much for tuning in. This breakdown of change that I'm going to present has taken place at the Bendix Corporation. I'm going to give you some of the history, culture, and structure of Bendix first. Um, the beginning of this company was interesting, to say the least, because the people within an existing company started a new company. So, Westinghouse Union Switch and Signal Company was a Pennsylvania company that had workers that innovated a new product and started a new company called the Bendix Aviation Company. So by 1930, this Bendix Aviation Company joined forces with Westinghouse Air Brake Division and formed the Bendix Westinghouse Company. This company puts together heavy-duty brakes for commercial vehicles, whether they're trains, whether it's construction, whether it's um, semi-trucks. They have been leading the industry since World War II. Right around 1941, the company moved to Elyria, Ohio, and built an ultra-modern facility that housed the headquarters and is still there in Elyria today. The unique structure of this organization allows for the ideas to stay kind of airtight. There's a three-man board of directors, which is headed by one of those members, which is the chairman. And then underneath those three individuals are two teams of leadership committees. This organization has a very small town feel, just based on the locations in the U.S. and even in their locations in Europe. There tends to be a very small town feel. Everybody knows everybody. There are family members that have worked for this organization in the past. So even though that this company happens to be internationally known, the small town American culture drives the brand. So as you can see here, some of the same things that were discussed in the earlier slide are present. One of the most interesting things is the 1975 safety standard that was given to the Bendix organization, which really allowed them to set the tone for what type of products would be manufactured and which direction the technology would go. In 1980, Bendix was able to build a distribution center in Huntington, Indiana, which allowed them to continue with their global brand. And in 2002, Bremsey acquired 100% of the organization and allows for their marketing and global connections to be made available while still producing products under the Bendix brand name. These are the three individuals that are on the board of directors. One of them was introduced as the new CEO. So you can see that this small panel of individuals represents a very large part of the organization, and the person whom was replaced had 15 years of experience in the company, and the new person was an outsider, an unknown, someone who really didn't at first seem like they would be a good fit, especially given the fact that this person was from another country, Germany specifically. Tiffany Short was the leader of the change management team, and she was able to implement the changes that were needed to bring about a smooth transition for the CEO and to ensure that the company's concerns would be addressed. This process This process just happened recently in uh, July of 2015. Some of the biggest challenges that were being faced by the change management team were that the CEO needed to explain his side of the story in terms of where he was from, what he stood for, what he represented, what his expected, what his expectations were, and how his perspective would influence the business of the company. Other challenges were keeping the employees on the journey for the change, so that different coalitions wouldn't form and the resistance towards the change wouldn't build, and that the rumor mill wouldn't take over the process of actualizing the implementation of the new CEO position. So, lastly, the challenge that's been mentioned is the transition from losing a long-standing member of their team and introducing a totally new CEO. The goals for the change management team included they did not want their day-to-day business interrupted. They did not want their employees to be distracted with all of the conversations about how the new person would come in and bring their um, ideas and structures and formats and budget systems and different things that would kind of trickle down into the day-to-day business. The other goals were keeping the performance at an industry standard, which they controlled, and also allowing for the flow of information to be controlled so that, again, the rumor mill would not take over about what types of changes would actually be taking place before the CEO actually came on site. The change management team used strategies to set up a very extensive communication system, making sure that they were able to communicate with the employee base often, whether it was through monthly breakfasts, whether they were able to have town hall meetings, luncheons, they would have meet and greets after hours. There was a company picnic that was held. The company picnic was held so the CEO could bring his family and have a chance to interact with the employee base in a face to face situation in a very relaxed environment and to make the CEO as approachable as possible during the transition time before he would actually take his position on site. There were also video loops that were played on the monitors around headquarters, which really kind of reinforced the ideas that were coming from the concerns and coming from the suggestions about the new change in CEO. So that allowed for people to hear and see the CEO talk about the issues in a recorded format, and kind of just in passing. The next most interesting thing in their strategy was they used a manager simulation process, which just involved members from the leadership committees to take all of the concerns from their different departments and have different meetings with the new CEO before he actually took his position to address the concerns and to be as transparent as possible about the issues that were concerning all of the different leadership members as well as those leadership members' teams. I felt that the transition overall for the company was good because the CEO was made available to the employee base before he actually took the position on site. The team was also able to stay ahead of the rumor mill and was able to keep the most truthful parts about the change at the front of the conversations that were being held around headquarters. They were able to avoid the cultural rifts that came from the anticipation of a German CEO coming to a U.S. Based headquarters and bringing in different traditions from German run businesses and break down the different things that were already being put in place for generations. So those type of things were avoided. Uh, Most importantly, the company was able to maintain a high performance level and the standards of their production did not go down. Their manufacturing potential continued to grow. They continued to make alliances. The company continued to profit. The change management team could have used social media to reiterate some of the uh, perspectives and plans that the new CEO was bringing to the table. Perhaps they could have involved some of the same types of things on the company website. Um, I thought overall that the common sense approach to their problem solving was really attractive. You would think that a company that is globally run and has a lot of different components, a lot of different teams, a lot of different expectations um, that keep the company at the front of the industry, that this would be a complex transition, that the type of individual that would come in would have to be so well experienced in running corporations and um, being able to come in and fit in with the needs that the culture of the organization had already had on the table without dismissing any of the root causes of those needs. I thought that too, the change management team was able to delegate and execute the project tasks because there were so many different levels of the communication that had to take place um, outside of just the social venues that were made available, just being on the different emails and being updated with the different meetings and having the different lanes of communication just open so that people could share their thoughts and concerns and suggestions. Um, they also were able to maintain transparency. The company started off in a small town in a corner of a manufacturing company, and those honest, humble beginnings really tried to set um, the foundation for the culture, and they were able to deal with the issues that threatened those values in a very direct way. So overall, the change that took place was very smooth. The CEO has now been in place since July of 2015, and Bendix has continued to lead the commercial braking industry since the early 1900s. I thank you so much for sharing this presentation with me and sticking through it and trying to get some information about how change and innovation works in big organizations like Bendix. Thanks again. Peace. God bless.